All right, everybody hear me okay? I want to welcome everybody to Troop C. I'm Captain Kevin Malugin. I'm the commanding officer here at Troop C. We're gathered today to talk about an initiative that we're partnering with MoDOT on unsecured loads and litter on Missouri highways. So with that, I'm going to bring up Michelle from MoDOT, and she can tell you about the initiative.
Thank you, Captain. Good morning. My name is Michelle Ferneris, MoDOT Assistant District Engineer here in St. Louis. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today to talk about roadside litter and debris along our roadsides. In 2024, MoDOT statewide spent $12 million cleaning litter from roadsides across the state. In St. Louis, it was about 30% of that, so about $3.6 million to remove litter and across the St. Louis area roadways. MoDOT, of course, doesn't place up that trash and debris along the roadsides, but we are tasked with removing all of it. In 2024, MoDOT St. Louis crews removed 8,800 tons of debris from area shoulders and roadsides. That equates to about 64,000 sofas. So if you can imagine the weight of an average sofa, that's how much debris has been removed from the 5 areas that MoDOT St. Louis is in charge of. So out of the city of St. Louis County, Jefferson, Franklin, and St. Charles counties alone. In 2025, so far, approximately 2,300 tons of debris have already been removed from area roadsides in the last 4 months. Often, this is from loaded trucks and trailers that do not properly have cargo secured. Therefore, it flies out, falls off of those trucks and trailers. To ensure all loads are secure and not blowing on the highway, we have partnered with the Missouri State Highway Patrol to focus on saturation patrols and enforcement of this growing problem. As a heads up, we did mail letters to approximately 50 locations here in the 5 areas that we are in charge of. So we gave a heads up to landfills, recyclers, scrappers, as that this was coming. It is MoDOT's desire for all vehicle operators and associated businesses to follow the law, which will help keep Missouri beautiful. To provide you more information on the enforcement patrol, I will call up Corporal Dallas Thompson.
Good morning. I'm Corporal Dallas Thompson with the Missouri State Highway Patrol. And the purpose of the solid waste hauler enforcement operations is to combat the loss of solid waste and refuse from unsecured loads traveling up and down our highways and interstates here in the Troop C area. Like she just said, the MoDOT spent millions of dollars last year across the state removing debris. MoDOT St. Louis spent a couple $1 million alone here trying to remove debris from our highways. So I'm sure we've all seen trash flying out of vehicles as we're driving down the highway, and we're forced to slow down or swerve to avoid that. That's very dangerous as it is. That could cause you to crash. Since 2020, we've worked statewide over 1,500 crashes with debris on the roadways. And 1,500 of those crashes. All right, so that's a lot of crashes that could have been avoided if people had just secured their loads and taking time to make sure this stuff didn't come off their vehicles. We often, along with the Highway Patrol and MoDOT, get calls for debris in the roadway to remove that. You can imagine the traffic volume we have here in the St. Louis area. That could be a very tricky and dangerous thing for us to try to do, is to stop cars, get traffic slowed down so we can get out of our vehicles, even with emergency lights on. So it's very dangerous for us. The loss of trash and debris from the vehicles causes crashes and damages other vehicles on the roadway. Oftentimes ends up in the medians and ditches, and with heavy rain that also gets washed down into drainage ditches, into the drainage areas, which stops up the drains and causes the roads to flood if we have heavy rain. So between now and May 10th, the Highway Patrol and MoDOT have identified several routes throughout the region that commonly have solid waste haulers and the areas of concern for violations of unsecured loads. We've also contacted other agencies in the Troop C area and invited them to participate in the enforcement efforts as well. Officers are going to work these areas, enforcing all traffic and commercial vehicle violations while putting an emphasis on load securements in the areas. So if anybody has any questions, we'll be open to those now. Right. We're going to continue that throughout the year. You know, it's a violation that's been occurring for years. We're going to continue that. We're just putting a focus on it for the next couple of weeks here in hopes that we can get really get us out there, get ahead of the problem, maybe get the problem to slow down and let these companies that's hauling know that we're out there. And we're going to start really enforcing this more and more as time goes on.
I noticed a lot of commercial vehicles have the nets go over like the dump trucks and all
Correct.
that. And they usually use that as a grip or something. But isn't the problem more the guy going around picking up junk?
Scrap haulers, yes. Yeah, we do see, majority of your companies that's hauling refuse and trash to the landfills, a lot of them, they are required to have that net or tarp over top of that. And majority of those are probably following those as long as the tarps aren't ripped and they're on there security or properly and able to hold that load in. We do see a large problem with people that's just individuals that's hauling scrap to the scrap yard. So yes.
What kind of fines are that you have in the law?
Yeah, the fines are assessed by the courts, so it'd be up to the judges and wherever the municipality or the county is, those tickets are written in for what the fines might be.
You mentioned there's 1,500 crashes and the rest of these incidents where debris on the roadway. Can you speak to how many crashes are related to people having to get out and remove debris?
Yeah, I don't.
A MoDOT worker, or even just a person that had noticed it fell off their truck.
Right, I don't have any numbers with me right now that shows how many people have been injured because they've stopped because of debris and got out. But that's something we can look up for you if we can. But like I said, it's very dangerous, especially in the metropolitan area with the large traffic volume on the 270, 70. We get called out there here on 64. I just did it here a week or so back myself. You hit the lights, you pull over, you might be in the center lane, and traffic's coming up on you, but they don't realize that you're stopped in the middle of the highway. So then they're swerving to avoid you, and we got officers standing on those traffic lanes trying to remove this debris. So it's very, very dangerous.
For the scrap haulers, what exactly are you going to be looking for to determine if it's secure, not secure?
Well, sometimes that's an unfortunate problem we have is we have to have the violation. Something may have to come off that vehicle. We have to see that. But for commercial vehicles, they are required to haul. So if it's a private individual, we really just have to hopefully that it doesn't come off, but it does enforce it. But if they got commercial violations on that side through federal motor carrier regulations, then we can enforce that just on the visual observation.
If you see a scrap hauler, it's obviously the refrigerator's not tied down, the water heater, all that stuff. It's obviously just sitting in the back of his trailer.
And as long as it stays in there, they're okay. As long as it stays inside their vehicle, they're okay. Yes.
What about a driver, vacation season coming up, you've got a hauler on top, or if something would happen, what should the driver do?
I'm sorry,
If something would fall off that they've got stowed on top of their
Oh, absolutely. If you're driving down the roadway and you got something stowed, you're just traveling through and you got luggage or whatever, and a piece of that comes off on the roadway, find a safe spot to get off the roadway, dial 911, dial star 55 in Missouri, and that'll get you to the nearest Highway Patrol headquarters. We can get some troopers out there, some help out there to get the road slowed down, the traffic slowed down to get that removed off the roadway. But definitely call it in so we can get that removed from the roadway before it occurs.
In terms of the law and legislation regarding the covered vans, covered trucks right now, are there improvements, things you'd like to see changed?
Captain, you got is there any?
No, I think the legislation. I think currently the law, of course, is sufficient with the unsecured load portion of the law, and we're out there trying to enforce that every day. So we just got to get the community to understand and accept their responsibility and make sure their loads are secure when they're going up and down the roads.
Are you guys doing any ads on TV or anything, public service announcement on the radio or anything?
We are putting out the information on social media is our public service announcement avenue for this purpose.
I'll just add to the legislative. So during the 2025 Missouri legislative session, MoDOT has proposed a three-prong approach to litter. So trash hauler fees is one. That's where adding additional fees per ton on the trash removed or deposited through transfer stations or landfills. The funds collected then would be used by MoDOT to pay for litter pickup services. 2 points against license for a failure to secure loads is another consideration, and then removing barriers to littering enforcement. So currently, individuals stopped for littering must be taken into custody for fingerprinting. That process could be streamlined by removing that requirement to help have fewer warnings but more enforcement. So those are some items that MoDOT has proposed during legislative session currently.
If someone calls in, my keyboard fell off or whatever, are they going to be ticketed? Because that's kind of a deterrent then for people to call start or
That's kind of a case-by-case basis. If they lost an item off their vehicle and they call it in and someone strikes that item, then it's very possible they could be cited for that. But more likely, if they call us in and say, hey, I lost something on my vehicle, I need some help getting it off the roadway, we're probably going to go out there. We can issue those warnings, like you said, we appreciate you calling in, not just leaving the item out there for someone to strike and cause more problems, or cause MoDOT to have to come and have the expense of having to get rid of that themselves. Anybody else? All right, guys, we appreciate you coming in today. Thank you.